Now he maketh the noise. I wish I could drop it deeper, but I don't know that it would sound natural.
Oh, that's what I just got a delivery estimate for an Amazon order, and I'm like, I haven't ordered anything. I scrolled down in the email. It's Lego Star Wars.
Been on back order for 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Suddenly it has a delivery date.
My
surprise.
One of my cartridges that I ordered for my Game Boy operator. Let me read you the tracking information for 2 seconds. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
So it shipped the same day as something I have already received that came from New York. This one, Arnold, Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Anaheim, Eugene, Oregon, Portland, Oregon. It's not the correct direction.
Yeah,
that's a lot of directions, and none of them are correct.
That's really bad.
So that one's lost forever, I'm guessing. I gotta turn on a certain type of voice here, and I don't like it, but I'm gonna do it just because I want to say, hey everyone, Lucky Carter here, bringing you another blind pack opening of We Were Gamers. Oh my god, it's a double rare pack with Michael and JJ. Did I do it good?
I feel dirty.
I feel shiny.
I know. You feel it's these cards are so
Foil
smooth.
Mantis God? Foil Mantis God?
Foil Mantis God. Oh, that felt terrible. How do they do it? I know I needed a drink of water after that. It hurt my
ask
my voice.
every video creator on YouTube except us, I think.
I think so. Speaking of which, I have been desperately trying to update my understanding of DaVinci. I literally have been on it every available moment today, trying to get the audio visualizer working better than it was before, getting the image thing to be working the way I want it to work. It's been interesting. I have by the time you hear this, you could look back in your timeline and find at least a subspace transmission in there to look at that will be not 100%. It'll be like a late beta version of the updated everything. Even with this new 3080 Ti crunching the numbers, it still wants 3 hours to render with that audio visualizer on there.
I mean, there are just some things that take time.
Yeah, I mean, that's down from what? It was like 11 hours or something.
I think you said
Yeah, so
some of our long ones were
improvement.
very long.
Yeah. 3 hours is not unheard of in the rendering world, especially with that much graphics going on. But yeah, if that visualizer's on there, it takes up some computes. It'd be almost better to just animate like a static object or something like that. I don't know. We could rethink. We all together, tete-a-tete, need to rethink the design maybe of what we're putting out, and that might lower the render times. Until then,
Yeah, I mean, there are options for visualizers that aren't that one. We totally could do that. Totally.
Until then, we can have that discussion instead of wasting discussions in the chat like anchovy discussions that we should have had on the pod.
Well, before we jump off of putting episodes together, I got to shout you out for something, Andy.
Oh no!
You started doing something, and I don't think you told either me or JJ that you were doing it. But you started putting subject timestamps in our episode descriptions.
I sure did. And if you look at
a project in the new year,
if you look at the podcasts on YouTube in the description, you can even click the times, and it'll take you right to the segment.
Ooh,
Chapter markers.
I haven't quite figured out the what podcast apps do you use, since we're going to waste time on this. And
I use a super old one, and it doesn't support that stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, so I was curious how to get it to support it correctly, because I've tried a couple times, and the different podcasting apps seem to be reading them differently. Like I looked at one, and it was all jumbled together in one big string line. I looked at a different one, and it was like there was a double spacing between each line. I don't know how they all format. So if you have images of them being formatted in your podcast apps, please send them to me so I can try and make them look better. I endeavor this year to make things look better. The amount of time on these is just front loaded, right? Like if I can get the templates looking correct, then we're good to go. The templates are what the templates are. I want to talk about the food though, because the anchovy discussion offline reminded me that the food rules are still up for debate. There's still a comment period for debating our new food rules program. Number 1, no food for the gram proposed. Number 2, don't imposter. And Michael, you are required to inform JJ about caps lock just eggs. That's their slogan, is just eggs with a caps lock on. JJ, have you heard about just eggs?
Not something that is attempting to be cruise control for cool. So no.
Just Eggs is a product that we have seen start to advertise recently, and they are a plant-based egg substitute that is supposed to cook up like eggs.
So not eggs.
Literally,
not just eggs.
Literally the exact opposite.
Is that like false advertising somehow?
So you got to wonder about that, right? Because, I mean, in the States, that kind of thing will slide, but you hear all the time about companies in the EU getting in trouble for calling things hamburger that don't have meat or the right kind of meat in them. And there are all kinds of weird regulations that govern what you can call food. So I don't know how they get away with something.
Even in the US, some products are regulated like that. Like you can't call something a chicken wing. It's why there's so many chicken tenders and stuff and like chicken nuggets in the aisle and never chicken wings.
Right.
Because wings are like a regulated, protected class of meat.
I don't know why you wouldn't just call it not eggs. Anyway, it comes in a carton. The carton packaging looks exactly like egg whites. So
I was just about to, when you asked me, if you had asked me what I thought it was, I was going to tell you egg whites.
Yep. Does that fit under Rule 2?
The name really, like, it falls under deceptive advertising, I think.
For sure.
I don't know. I feel so again, this is a letter of the law, spirit of the law discussion, which is increasingly irrelevant to our modern age, where the answer is just who has more money. I think in the spirit of the law, this would not qualify because they are not intentionally they're not like hiding the fact that they're a plant-based egg alternative, are they?
No, it says right underneath the name. It says plant-based.
So I went and watched an ad for Just Eggs, and I'm pretty sure they say it's a plant-based egg alternative one time, and then 4 other times they say just eggs, just eggs, just eggs.
Well, I just like the fact that their voiceover guy is JB Smoove.
Yes, it is. Pretty good.
Great choice.
I want to say they're treading a line. They're in a gray area for sure. I don't appreciate it. I want bright divisions here. Unfortunately, I feel like they're trying to be in a gray zone. But I think they're not trying to sneak their food in as a different type of food. Right? They're not trying to turn their sushi into a burrito or what have you here.
I still have not had a sushi burrito since that discussion, so I will hold off on calling for a ruling until after. Speaking of deceptive, I was led to believe that that Metroid Dread enemy EMMI was fun.
Oh no, EMMI's supposed to be straight up like terrifying. Oh my god, get me out of here.
So the hardest fight I've ever done in Smash was this past weekend when they added an EMMI spirit to the game.
Oh no.
Who immediately sets your health to 1 at the beginning of the match.
That's pretty scary.
And then turns invulnerable.
Yeah.
And runs
so
right at you.
So you have to run away. Oh, okay, just like in Metroid, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, you have to run for quite a long time, actually.
Just like in Metroid.
And the only way to beat it is with Samus and to be dropping bombs behind you or shooting missiles from afar, hoping that you don't get hit by the laser. I now feel your pain, Michael.
That's a nice touch, though, for Smash to add that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like their last up. They added that like 2 weeks ago, and they added Evil Ryu for the Street Fighter anniversary. That game's winding down. They've already said they're not doing any more real updates to it. I've noticed they've added in all the... I now have every single spirit they've ever released in that game. They're all now all available.
Does Evil Ryu have a different moveset from regular Ryu, or is he just like a color?
In Smash?
Yeah.
He's just a colored spirit, which means you don't even play as him.
Oh,
he
okay. He's
upgrades
not a real player.
He upgrades your character in a different way than normal Ryu.
Okay. Because I was going to say, in Street Fighter, Evil Ryu is like a separate character at the select screen. They like don't have the same moves, so they're very different.
Okay. Normally, this would be where we just talk about games for the rest of the time. But immediately after the last podcast, like within hours.
Dude, seriously, like we recorded it and then like
the rumor
7 hours later.
Yeah, well, the rumor mill started shortly after, and then the minute the market opened the next morning, it was announced.
Yeah, like less than 10 hours after we recorded. Yeah.
Microsoft has entered an agreement to finalize a purchase for Activision Blizzard by the end of 2023, which normally we'd leave like industry news to industry people that understand this stuff. But holy cow, I had people texting me that I don't even think play games anymore.
You're leaving off the big thing, Andrew, that it was a nice $69 billion.
Nice and round, huh?
It's a lot of billions.
Yeah. I wonder how they came up with that number. Anyway.
I mean, the actual number is 68.7 billion, and then a lot of people round it up to 70, which is just like, okay, I get it. But also, like, it's right there. You can do nice and say 69. Come on.
Low hanging.
It would not be above Activision Blizzard. Boom.
Got him.
Roasted.
Wow. So
that's a Microsoft product now. You can't talk about that.
Oh, I know, right? You can't.
That's not true. But
well, something that only occurred to me after the fact, after hearing the news a couple of days later, was that's got to be the death knell for BlizzCon. Yeah.
Oh, it's gone, dead forever. We kind of thought that to begin with.
Like, yeah. The hope was pretty tenuous up to this point, but
I think that we said on this podcast after the second BlizzCon was canceled that we were pretty sure that is it.
It was done. Yeah.
It was already.
Not that they won't leverage the idea to do like a Microsoft fan festival or some kind of thing.
I am sure someone at Blizzard will convince them that some sort of BlizzCon should happen online, some sort of thing where they get streamers involved for at least a year before they cancel Overwatch 2 and start to wind down everything except World of Warcraft and Diablo 4.
I think Overwatch 2 still comes out, but I think maybe that is the end of it.
I don't think so. I think that game is in such trouble that maybe they look at that and think, how many people could we lay off if we just give up on Overwatch? We've got Halo. Overwatch isn't doing that great anymore.
Who knows?
Yeah. They've already said they're going to keep Call of Duty kind of open to everybody.
Shocker.
Well, they're going to keep it, but they're also going to keep it on all platforms, which makes sense. I mean, you might as well.
What are you going to kill the fatted calf there? It's the golden idol. You don't kill the literal one thing, right?
Well, some people were like, "Oh gosh, is it going to be exclusive to Microsoft?" And it's like, no, come on. They already have an exclusive shooter. They don't want competition within their own ecosystem.
Yeah, totally. And they have to consider the revenue acquired from the various places. And I bet you look at something like Call of Duty, which gets a lot of its money from the console market, and you go, how many of those are PlayStations? Ooh,
most
dang.
of them? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't. Like, yeah, we'll sell some Xboxes if we move this over, but we're not going to sell this many Xboxes.
Nope. Well, some of my thoughts went to antitrust initially, but also we should talk about what that means for games a little bit and what we think it means for us personally. I imagine this means the back catalog of games ends up as Game Pass, Microsoft exclusives. Games going forward that are single player, probably also Microsoft exclusives to try and get people onto Game Pass as their cloud architecture launches here.
You can stream Xbox games to xCloud already. That's like already a thing.
Yeah, they were doing some sort of upgrades so you could do it through a web browser. Is that having launched already?
I believe you can do it from phones and tablets. So
okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe it's only iTablets and not Android tablets or something. I don't know.
The Switch is now going to let you stream games. So I guess that means that Google missed it by a month, huh?
My concern about the streaming stuff is really like, I don't think there's people out here who really want to just only stream games.
It's bad.
Ever.
It's not that great.
But I think there are maybe a lot of people who would go, well, I have this game on PC, but I'm sitting on the couch right now with my iPad. I could play this for 10 minutes while we're watching some other TV show that I don't care about.
Sure.
Like, there are more people in that vein. And so then they would only want to do that in the case where they're in that weird situation, and only then if they could stream it, a game they already own, and keep all their progress and all that stuff. And, you know, Microsoft's cloud stuff allows them to do that.
I think the one thing that I could think about, Michael said the thing that occurred to him, the thing that occurred to me later on was Activision as a company in general has been around since the Atari, you know? Yeah. And now they're they're a Microsoft subsidiary. It's like, whoa. That's nuts to me.
You know, remember, like, what was it, 15, 20 years ago or something, before Call of Duty got big, Activision was kind of nothing and no one. Like, they were in trouble. Like, I think Bobby Kotick scooped that company up for like a couple $100 million in like the late 90s.
Yeah, less than his severance will be.
Oh yeah, and essentially built a empire out of them. You know, basically off the back of like, you know, old games that no one cared about anymore. So, you know, like from that perspective, like he was already extremely wealthy starting off and all this other stuff, but like the company really was dead for all intents and purposes. You know, they didn't do anything that was major in the video game space, you know, until they started really gaining steam coming into like that, you know, PS3 360 era of consoles. Mm-hmm. Maybe the end of the PS2. But anyway, like that era.
Other than letting their problems languish long enough to destroy their stock so they could get bought out.
I mean, like, let's talk about that for a minute, though. Do you think the only reason this deal happened is because their stock price was so depressed due to all of the horrible allegations?
Yes.
Like,
I think it's a deal that a Phil Spencer brought to Nadella a long time ago and said, we should buy a company like this, like a Nintendo or an Activision or somebody that we can get for billions of dollars. We need to make a Disney-sized move in this video game space because we're not that big of a producer of games, actually. You know?
No, true. Yeah, very true. And I think I think it's clear. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just to finish my thought, which was, and then a Nadella says that's too much money, and then this type of thing with a Bobby Kotick running a company down because not willing to deal with problems happens, and the conversation gets revisited.
I mean, I think it goes, you know, Phil Spencer, who is his own title is CEO, so like, does he even have to answer to Nadella? I don't really know how that.
I mean, it's the same works, company, right? He's got to answer to somebody.
I don't know. You don't have the title of CEO and answer to anyone except the board, right? So I don't know how that works. So they have
two CEOs at Microsoft?
Or many CEOs? I don't really understand. Because is it like a parent company, subsidiary company situation, in which point like he's a CEO of a subsidiary, but the subsidiary is owned by the parent? I don't know how this stuff works. Phil Spencer's title is CEO of Microsoft Gaming. So anyway, who cares? This is all corporate. It doesn't matter. My point is that by all accounts, Spencer was the guy there in the room with Kotick going, making you the offer you can't refuse, you know, and like sliding the check across the table. And Kotick, who is embattled, we'll say, politely.
Yeah,
sure.
Was looking for an out, knowing that he can't, you know, worm his way out of the things that are likely coming.
So I believe where you're going with this might be reported on by reliable people at Bloomberg, and Kotick said no, and the board told him say yes.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm referring to.
Okay.
That he was like, I don't think we need to do this, and his board is like, we would like to leave because we want to get rid of you. So yes, how about we all do this? And he's like, oh, okay.
Pretty ridiculous that a company like that has to back down because of one person.
I think mergers and acquisitions talks happen all the time in the business industry.
Sure.
People are always like, you know, money. Hey, what if this was the thing? And like, I think the important thing to realize here is Microsoft had this money lying around.
It's chump change. They're ready to pay with cash.
There are not companies that have that sums of money lying around. Like there are just not many companies, period, that have that kind of money lying around, let alone in the gaming industry.
Yeah, Apple.
Right? Like
Apple has this money.
Right. You named one of the maybe 2 or 3 others.
Google has this money.
Amazon could do it, but it's the
Amazon wouldn't, right?
What's the acronym for those?
FANG.
Like,
my point is that they could go to like, who else is going to give them the competing offer, right? It's like, who else is huge in the video game industry or interested in being in the video game industry that would be willing to shell this out? Google just lit billions of dollars on fire and in Stadia, and then like basically closed up shop and left. So like they're not doing that again, right?
Nope.
EA doesn't have this kind of money lying around to buy out Activision. Like Activision is bigger than EA. Like they don't, even if EA did, took on a ton of debt and got huge loans or whatever, I don't think they could come up with this kind of money. So like,
EA
like Facebook,
yeah,
is Facebook going to bid on a giant gaming thing? Facebook doesn't make games. That's not what their thing is.
I'm guessing Tencent made an offer.
Sure. So Tencent, but then that's does Activision want to sell to a Chinese company, which includes has a lot of
allow that
regulatory concerns in America these days, which, bad to say, but like, yeah, there are some xenophobic concerns there.
It's not even just xenophobic concerns. There's serious antitrust concerns, because I think after the analysis of this is that after Microsoft purchases this, just by the numbers, they become third in publishing size behind Tencent and Sony.
They're definitely behind Sony. I don't remember who number 1 is. Is it Tencent?
Yes.
Okay.
EA becomes a very distant fourth.
Yeah, it's like $50 billion from third to fourth or something. It's a huge gap. It is an Activision Blizzard sized gap, let's say.
I'm going to summarize an article I read for you that made me want to puke a little bit and see what you guys think now that I've colored your thoughts. Which was that Microsoft didn't do it just for the fact that it's probably worth $70 billion just for the assets. We have to start thinking about the metaverse.
Which metaverse are you referring
to? We gotta make our purchases in the future for the metaverse. Was the article. And
I got the Jerry Seinfeld putting his hands up. I'm just like, nope, I'm leaving.
I'm out.
As our resident Ready Player One expert, Michael, 11 times between Spencer, Kotick, and Nadella on the calls regarding this acquisition was the word metaverse.
It's an interesting name for IOI.
In which one person described the basically the Ready Player One interface. How would you feel about having to access your games through a Ready Player One interface? Is that even possible?
Not at the moment, but
yeah.
No one knows what metaverse means.
Nope.
People just say it because it's popular, because Facebook rebranded themselves as some dumb metaverse name. No, the only reason anyone says it is because investors are horny for metaverse. No one else cares. It's not a thing. Stop pretending like it's a thing. You're not going to have NFTs in your metaverse. That's not a thing. You dumb people. Stop.
It's
just a thing that people are saying
logins
to get money. They can't even do that. There's 7 accounts. Every time I open a game, I have to log into a different launcher. Like, yes. It's not, that's never happening.
Nadella at one point on a call said, "We don't believe there'll be one single metaverse." Oh, really? So I'm going to have to have
so you guys are going to revive PlayStation Home?
I'm going to have to have I'm going to have a Vive headset to access my Sony metaverse. I'm going to have a Facebook headset to access my NFT land in South Korea, or whoever already started selling land there. I don't get it.
I'm getting too old for this.
I really don't. How is it not easy enough to just say they bought it because it gives them an extremely large backlog and huge future?
I mean, that's you're missing the horse, or what's the stupid
missing
phrase?
Forest for the trees.
Yes, thank you, Michael. They get all that stuff. Andrew, that stuff is the gravy on top of the meal here. The thing that they get is a ton of game studios, a ton of people that are today already built producing games. In a lot of instances, have games already in production, and all the assets, all the things those people are already making. Like, they get a ton of people that can churn out new Microsoft stuff. That's what they get. yeah, they get the like Overwatch IP and the, Pitfall IP and, stuff from Blizzard's back catalog and Activision's ancient past. But that stuff is like a dream. Yeah, they own it. Cool. Well, like Disney owns a lot of stuff from their past. Are they bringing out the old guns like to make a new, Steamboat Willie? No. Right.
Right.
I want to caution people's like, yes, I too would love it if they would unearth a bunch of Activision's old catalog and make like Interstate 76 2 or
I don't
something
know.
old like that.
I don't know that I would use the word love it. I don't know. I mean, we could sound off. Do you love it? I'm not that excited.
I mean, they own it. I would be happy if that got made, right? I'm not exactly happy that Microsoft is doing it, but I'm happy someone is making it. But they're not going to do that. They're going to make Call of Duty 17 and they're going to make, Overwatch 3 and Diablo 4. That's what they're going to do.
As a person that loves my Game Pass subscription, I even am kind of like, I don't know about this in terms of what it's going to do to the businesses in the industry.
Andrew, what if you got to play WoW for free on your Game Pass subscription?
Do I want to do that?
But what if? You could just log in anytime.
But do I want to do that?
You could just just do a quest.
I mean, I feel like the other thing worth mentioning in this, though, is that all of this presumes that a judge somewhere isn't going to step in and say, nope, monopoly.
Yeah.
Or anti-competitive.
Yeah.
For
I
sure,
think that's
antitrust
the
problem. Yeah.
Again, I think also, I want to like point out that people use the word antitrust, and I think a lot of people maybe don't know what that means.
Okay.
Like, trusts are a thing that used to exist in like the Gilded Age in like the 20s or whatever.
Sure.
And they're not really a thing in America anymore. And
well, the laws are still
the laws
called
surrounding
antitrust
them
laws. Yeah.
because they were from that era.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
But really what we mean is like monopolies. And then Michael used the better word, the anti-competitive nature of some of these business practices.
Yeah. Basically, even if you can name 5 other companies, it essentially tries to limit downtrodden of competition. And while a Sony,
in theory, that's what it does.
While a Sony and a Tencent exist, Tencent arguably an arm of the Chinese government at this point.
Tencent, who has many fingers in many different pies across the gaming.
Let's say we'll go look at the credits from any movie in the last 5 years. Maybe there's some funding from Tencent in your movie.
I mean, look at many of the acquisitions that have happened in the gaming sphere that aren't this one.
Yeah. All Tencent.
And Tencent owns percentages of many companies.
Yeah. So. Epic, right? Epic was the big last one that did.
Mm-hmm. Riot, makers of League of Legends.
You know, Epic, when we have time at some point to talk about Press Reset, that Epic company is more yuck than yum, let's say.
Do you mean Epic Mega Games? Why did they change that name? It's so good.
Why are you doing that? Anyway, I would think there will be serious consideration towards companies like EA and others that will say, hey guys, we're going to be kind of out of business here against a Sony / Microsoft duopoly at the top. There's just no way to financially compete. I don't know that that's true, but I would guess if I'm an EA, I'm already hiring some lawyers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You got to imagine all of the not Microsofts are going to make that argument, right?
So Phil Spencer did put out that statement. It was like, so I've been on the phone with Sony and we're totally both cool with it.
I mean, what else can he say? He's doing the deal. He's the one who has to come out in support of it, right?
No, I know, but it's just funny to be like, look, our biggest competitor says it's fine. Okay.
Our biggest competitor who has no leverage and can do nothing about this situation says it's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, are you guys excited to log into your Blizzard games from Steam?
Are you excited to log into your Blizzard games from Steam through the Microsoft Xbox store?
Yep. That's what that was where I was going next. Have your Steam Microsoft games opened the Microsoft launcher in the Microsoft store?
I just want them to port over the Battle.net client at this point into the Xbox client or migrate the Xbox client into the Battle.net client. I want someone somewhere between these two companies to say that client is better than this client, and then integrate one into the other and just make it happen. $70 billion. Just make it work.
One or the other of those clients goes away in like the next 5 years.
Well, so they don't close till 2023, end of year years. Probably. So give it 3 years after that before they finally figure it out. By then, I won't be installing anything from the Battle.net app anyway. Ho, zinger.
Got him.
Yep. Another news story that I think all of us here would actually probably like to talk about that we don't talk about very often on this show. Hey, the NASA Webb telescope is in orbit, you guys.
Yeah, I just saw this morning that it reached its stopping point.
Reached the L2 point or whatever, something like that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Did you? Did it
be working? Which is also
it
awesome?
seems to be working. But did either of you see when we get to see the first picture, or no?
Oh,
no,
isn't it like 6 months or something?
I'm wondering. I don't know. I would love to know when we get to see the first picture. But for people that don't know, this is a massive telescope that we have now sent out beyond the moon to orbit in L2, which is around the sun.
No, L2 is not around the sun, but it is at a point distant from the Earth. That's like,
but it's blocked. It's blocked so that light can't.
So the telescope faces away from the sun.
Yeah,
and there's a big heat shield behind it, so that basically the telescope side is always in shadow, and no matter how it orbits around the sun, because again everything orbits around the sun in our solar system.
Yeah,
it's always pointed away, so that the telescope side stays very cold.
Yes. And also the L in L2 refers to a Lagrange point, which is a point of equilibrium between any two bodies in space.
So it's between us and the sun then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, at a point where both pull on it equally.
So we are Lagranging
so essentially it doesn't move, right?
Lagranging it between us and the sun. So it is kind of in orbit around the sun then.
Well, everything is in orbit around the sun.
That's true. I just I was trying to understand exactly because when you read it from like a NASA source, my brain just says and then I had to go to another article to try and understand what I read from the NASA source, and my brain says and then I had to go to a third source, and then that one and the second source don't agree with each other, and that's why I bring up stories like this on this podcast.
It's one of those you need to read scholarly things about aerospace enough times, and eventually you learn some of these terms.
Yes.
And like you accidentally learn more about orbital mechanics than you want, and are like, oh man, the delta V on this rocket is really good, and like you could play like Kerbal Space Program. You'll learn all this stuff.
Let me see. Hold on. I think I have that in my Steam library. Let me check.
Is
that an Activision product? No, it's an independent game.
Yeah, don't know. But yeah, it is very cool, and I do think they said it's going to take a while for them to finish doing all of their like alignments and cooling of the mirror side and all this stuff. It's a very complicated, like multifaceted telescope, and not just like a lens. It's like a bunch of weird mirrors, and it's doing like it's an infrared telescope, I think, right? Technically, so like there aren't even pictures.
Because we're going to recombine them into pictures, basically.
Yeah, like you will get cool pictures from it because they will do artists, photoshopping cool stuff into it. But I think initially the initial stuff is not colored because it's infrared light.
Yeah, and the idea is that we get to see basically millions of years back into the past, billions maybe.
The issue is always with like seeing out of our solar system and seeing away. Is that the light of the sun interferes with everything because the sun is the brightest thing and is by far, far and away the closest, right?
Yes.
And so you want to remove the sun as much as is possible in order to see other things. And by putting it in this point where it's generally not moving a ton between us and the sun, and then having the telescope be on the side facing away from the sun, it lets them filter all the sunlight out and then get these clearer pictures.
Try and look at a piece of paper while you look into a flashlight.
It's hard.
Also, don't look into a flashlight.
Yeah, maybe not.
It's bad for your eyes. Oh man, Michael, close your ears for a second. I forgot to mention, JJ. One of the favorite things. This is not a spoiler, but our Matrix. I'm going to mention it here. We did a Matrix subspace transmission, Michael. He did close his ears. He's not listening.
Right?
Good job. Good job, Michael.
That was a test. That was a test. No, we did a Matrix 4 subspace transmission so that we wouldn't ruin, because we did 1, 2, 3 on the main pod last week, but then we separated Matrix 4 so we could talk about it, so we wouldn't ruin you for the movie.
Appreciate it.
I believe you should watch.
I think that's a shared opinion here.
Okay.
Oh, it's on the list, so never fear.
I want to just point out something that I forgot to mention in my notes that I thought would make both of you laugh. And I think it is the very first time in Matrix 4 that I have heard someone use these words in conjunction correctly. It's deja vu all over again.
Okay.
Because
knowing what that's about is very funny.
Exactly. But I put it in my notes and I forgot to mention that Neil Patrick Harris says it's deja vu all over again, and that I laughed out loud watching because it was correct to have said it. Speaking of weird, maybe alternate reality stuff going on.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, speaking of things that are bad for your eyes.
What's bad for my eye? I don't know what that means. You'll have to explain that to me if we're both talking about the same thing. Are we both talking about the same thing?
I don't know. You tell me.
I was going to say weird possible alternate realities related to Inscryption. What were you going to talk about?
Yes, we are talking about the same thing.
I don't... are you just talking about the graphics? I mean, because I know there's things that are bad for your teeth in there.
Andrew, are you using all your items?
Apparently not.
Yeah, apparently not.
I was going to ask you about this because okay, hold on. If you haven't played Inscryption, are we going to do spoilers right now? We probably are, right?
Probably.
So, Andy, I believe you escaped from the cabin based on what I see on Steam achievements. So we can at least do the first part.
I did not escape from the cabin, which was going to be a question.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I know what happened to him. And I want to say that we're going to talk about the first part of Inscryption.
Yes. Okay. Yep. I know what happened then.
Okay. Maybe you can explain to me, because it felt like I won, but then they just put my face on the door.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you didn't get
out. You didn't do the things.
You didn't win.
I stomped.
You did win.
I mean, I literally raffle stomped the entire match from beginning to end. None of the bosses stood a chance. I destroyed the moon without even trying.
Did you have a death touch card?
I actually had a amalgamated wolf with the lowering of power thing.
Nice.
And I had a stoat with 7 damage on it because I put this is all gibberish to people, but I put the ringworm into the fire and the people ate it. And then my stoat got up to 8 damage or something like that. So I had like 14 damage on the board at one point, and his moon couldn't do anything.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So you're the first person I met who killed the moon by dealing 40 damage or whatever to it.
Oh, really?
All the times I beat the moon, I used death touch.
I dealt damage each time.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I just had stuff with death touch and I killed it immediately.
I didn't know about the moon.
It's meant to be a surprise.
Right. But I also assumed that I didn't need death touch if I wasn't... Like, not that much stuff is that strong, really.
Yeah, you run into the occasional elk or grizzly bear, but yeah, it's not necessarily the most necessary.
Given that, when I was given the option of a death touch card, I took flying stuff instead. I felt like death touch wasn't that good. Now, maybe I would have taken death touch if I had known about the moon.
And now you're going back to it, and you do know, right?
Yeah. I literally don't see how I can't just raffle stomp every boss now that I know exactly what they all do. I know exactly what cards to pick. I just don't understand what I'm supposed to have done, because clearly the game told me that I missed something, because the guy goes, "What? How come this game's still going?"
Yes.
But
I don't think I missed. I
You definitely missed something. I can tell you.
You won the card game, but you have not won the meta game.
So the only item I haven't used is the knife, because I don't know what it does.
Yeah, gee, maybe you should consider trying it out.
Try that.
Okay. I never needed it, and I knew I was, even when he dropped the moon, I was like, well, I win. I don't need, I never needed any of the items.
It doesn't matter that you don't.
Win
It doesn't matter that
games.
you don't need it. You do need it because you can't get out.
Okay. Well, so I was holding on to stuff because I thought, well, I don't know I don't need it, so I should hold on to it. Anyway,
reasonable assumption to have made,
but until you get to the point that you're at.
I'm not surprised that is the answer, because the goo kind of told me a sly way that I needed to use something. And I was like, okay, well, the only thing I haven't used is the knife or the cuckoo clock.
The goo is pretty smart. You should listen to the goo. I like the goo. The goo is good.
All right. So I watched all those videos. The only thing that I could glean that I was supposed to pay attention to was A, the dates were my birthday, and B, 49/123. Other than that, it was just like, oh, is that the guy that I am or whatever? I don't know. Yeah, was I supposed to have gleaned more from the videos?
The Lucky Carter.
Yeah, the Lucky Carter. That was that was the beginning of this podcast. If people didn't catch that, the Lucky Carter makes videos about unboxing cards, and Inscryption is a card game. By the way, Magic cards. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
The Inscryption cards are basically just Magic cards.
Yeah, he has printed up fronts on Magic cards. It's pretty good. I think you know what you need to do now.
Okay.
So you need to get back in there and give that stuff a try.
Is there
I will say you didn't need the information in the videos is telling you part of the story of the game.
But I don't need to pay very close attention.
I mean, it's interesting, and if you are interested in the story, you should pay attention.
Well, I mean, I don't think you need to
thumb
through the videos looking for hidden stuff. Like, I still don't know how to do that clock, and I feel like I've missed something. But
unless you want to get deep into the ARG, don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will say you don't need to do that.
I see. I like the game a lot. The card game so far is very easy to me. I think I lost 2 times because the game wants you to lose 2 times. There's really honestly some points in the first 2 go-throughs before you are able to get all the cards. Each round you have to kind of go through and earn cards for the next round, basically.
Yeah.
And then the third time through, you have access to all of them, and it's like, okay, my squirrel's totem gives me regenerating squirrels. So I literally oh my god, it's so good.
I was about to ask if you had gotten to totems, because it is possible to win those like unwinnable scenarios, just depending on what kind of cards you have.
Yeah, if you break items. But see, I was like breaking items and still losing those, and I just assumed I had to lose.
I will say that it is very easy to get back items, so you should just use them.
Yes.
Like they are, like there are spaces on the game board where you will show up and items will just be given to you. I think actually it gives you items until you're full on items.
It just won't. I mean, especially with that totem. Maybe if I don't get lucky and get that totem again, it'll be harder to get through, and I'll need items. But man, your squirrels being basically just respawning.
They die and come back to your hand.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Because you can sacrifice them and just keep sacrificing them, and then you've got zillions of bones, and it's just like we haven't described the game at all because we just got straight into it, and maybe we should. Some sort of horror-ish game is how I would describe the outer trappings of it. Yeah? Maybe like a horror version of Myst, almost. Encapsulates
I heard it described as an escape room.
Okay, sure. Encapsulates a very simple yet interesting deck building card game. Is so far what I have discovered about this game, and I assume that's it. So
that's the gist of where you are.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I
assume once I escape the cabin, there's more to do. But it seemed like escaping the cabin was something that you were supposed to do, and I was not far enough into the game to assume that the game was over after doing that, because it's only been about 4 hours maybe until I had beaten him.
I will say, Andrew, that your experience with other card games like Magic and others has prepared you well for being really good at the card game in Inscryption.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely will give you a leg up.
And by that nature, you are finding the first part of the game very easy.
Okay.
Because you know how card games work and are already, your mind, unbeknownst to you, is already arranging the pieces in such a way that give you an edge.
Sure. Like
For
when I looked
maybe-
at what was available, what I had seen in the first 2 go-throughs and was able in the third go-through to not know what was ahead of me, but still draft a deck that would win.
Yes.
Exactly. And going like, oh, getting the Stoat up to 7 power is like really good.
No kidding. All that poor Stoat looks terrible, man. That guy is destroyed.
It's not in a good way.
No.
Yeah.
It's cool when his eyes glow, though.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, and I think you know more than you think you know about card games, and so because of that, you're finding it easy. Whereas people who maybe are not as into card games or don't play them or haven't played them for as long a time as you would struggle a lot more. And there are like and there are even more mechanics that help you get through that first part
Yeah. You know,
that you haven't even seen yet.
Yes.
Oh, really interesting. I haven't seen some of the mechanics. I mean, I've seen the one thing I did try to do to the moon that it would not let me do was I tried to use my scissors on it.
I actually never had
Oh.
scissors when I got there, and I wondered if it would work.
Interesting.
It said you can't do that right now. So I don't know if that means next time through, since I've beaten him once, I can use the scissors.
Were you trying to do it when you were supposed to draw a card or a squirrel?
Oh, shoot. Maybe.
Because I feel that the fact that they let Death Touch work, they probably would let the scissors work. They let you
I
cheat
still have the
super hard at
scissors.
this game.
I still have the scissors.
You'll get more scissors. Just use them. Like it doesn't matter. You need to try that knife, and you need to try the other ones you haven't used.
I have used the fan. I've used the goat. I've used... I mean, all the things in the bottle are the same. I tried using the frozen opossum, but that didn't do anything.
So the frozen possum, I think, puts a frozen card on the board, and then when it dies, something comes out.
Oh, nothing happened.
Yeah, it
I wonder if
thaws it.
I wonder if I won too quickly.
Yeah, they didn't kill the thing.
Oh, it was still on the board when he died.
But yes, there are additional mechanics that you have not found besides what you're trying to do.
Okay, so in the cabin there are mechanics I haven't found? Because
Yes.
I know 100% certainty there's at least one item you've never seen because you haven't mentioned it, and you would have.
Yes.
Huh. Well, I know
Can't
there's
say if there's more.
I know
based
there's
on-
something in the clock, and I know there's something in the clock because I can move the hands. So I assume that means that the clock opens like a cuckoo clock should. But I don't know anything about how to open it. And I've seen the so I have freed the wolf. I used the wolf to get the knife.
Yep.
I did
And the
all
painting.
so the painting was the one I was going to say. I understand, I think, what the painting is, but I couldn't confirm it last run because they never gave me a dog to put on the board. This run, they want me to put I assume it means they want me to put the black sheep and the squirrel on the board at the same time in the order. Because it seems like what the other puzzle was, where it was like, here's the board, and then, arrange the cards. So this one seems like here's the board, arrange the cards while you're playing, right? I mean, that's what I assume. What a game. It's fun. It's very light. It reminds me of early Gwent.
I think my favorite part of the game is this part at the front. I can't tell you what that means until you play more.
But you said I had to play it, and I'm already playing your favorite part.
Yeah. This game is rad, dude. Are you having a good time? It's so much fun. There's so much broken stuff you can do. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and
I
the fact
mean,
the game
definitely
doesn't
like that.
care. Like, my favorite part is, like, again, we've told you there's mechanics you haven't even seen. And the game's just like, yeah, dude, these are cheap. You should use them. Like, it's super unfair.
So now
check it out.
I have this blacked out in the book, so I can't read it. But I've had a monster with a bell on it. I assume that means once it's on the board, when you ring the bell, it goes up once in power.
That's not what that means.
Okay, because I haven't been able to use them. I've gotten them twice very late.
Part of the mystery is finding out what some of those things are. There's another one that isn't a bell, but it's a what is the logo? How do you explain what the logo for the other one is, Michael? The sigil.
Gosh.
Sorry, sigil.
Yeah.
There's so many powers in that book.
Yes, there are. Like the sigil for the bell one is like a tentacle holding a bell, right?
Yes.
I would say the sigil for the other one is like a tentacle holding a card. Have you gotten that one yet?
Yes. That one is more powerful for the more cards that are in your deck or your hand.
It's cards in your hand.
Yeah, I've seen that one, and I took the one with the bell over it. They presented both to me as a reward for a golden pelt.
Yeah,
and
the bell one is tricky. I had a tough time figuring out what the bell one did. I had to play it several times.
I got it, and then the next 2 fights, I was just like, well, this one, I don't know what it does, and I'll win the fight with these other ones, so I might as well use the ones that I know I'll win the fight with.
Yeah, I never used it, so I never figured it out. I never took the time to figure out what it did.
I had to play one several times to figure out what it did. It's unintuitive, I'll say.
Is it good? That's my question.
Can be if you use it right.
Okay.
The problem is knowing if you're using it right when you don't know what it does.
You know, there's a lot of mechanics in the game, like things moving to the right and things attacking multiple directions and stuff like that. And while I have won games because of it, you mostly win games by dealing with his stuff doing it, not your stuff.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you have a big structural advantage in the game because you can see and move ahead, and he can't see ahead of you, right?
Right.
So it is.
They want you to win. Like you said, they let you cheat. I assume that means I messed up trying to cut that card.
I mean, maybe. I only mentioned that one because I remember trying to use the scissors on a different fight, and it saying you can't do that until I drew a card. And then I could use the scissors.
I have multiple.
It just doesn't let you use items then.
I have been multiple times sitting there trying to do stuff and just keep forgetting to draw a card because I don't need one. I'm like, I win. Let me just play. But the game sometimes doesn't really like refocus your vision. It's very interesting having to maneuver with either the arrows or the wheel or whatever to try and move around while also playing a card game. Not a lot of card games let you refocus your view, sometimes not even including your hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will say, if you are on the map and you press W forward, you can see your deck. If you didn't know that, that's really helpful while you're like deciding which direction to go on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can also mouse wheel up to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty helpful, especially when you're trying to like build synergies and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure. Or making sure you don't have too many bone cards without any bone generation. Or yeah, but see, like the bone,
thinking about the idea of bone generation already proves that you're like way ahead of, you know.
Well, it's funny because the bones really is very key to you being able to win, but they don't give it to you on the first go through. So there's no way.
It's not.
You can totally make a deck that doesn't use bones at all.
No, I know, but like
I think you shouldn't, but you certainly could.
I mean, I guess if you have infinite squirrels, it doesn't matter what you do. You could build a deck of anything.
There is a sigil, and I never saw a totem for it, but I know the sigil exists on some cards that you can sacrifice it multiple times.
There is the one that comes on the black cat with the infinity.
The black cat.
The infinity with the knife. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just keep sacrificing it.
Not as good.
I never found a totem for that one.
Honestly and sincerely, not as good as the squirrels. Because the black cat gets stuck on the board.
Yeah, it never leaves the board.
If they don't kill it, then it's in the way. If you need to move stuff around, you can't just kill it off like you can with a squirrel. I mean, it's better than a squirrel if your squirrels aren't infinite, I guess.
Right. I mean, you can only have one totem. It's not like you can get 3 totems or 5 totems or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the option to get the squirrels that die and come back, I wondered if it was possible. I've never seen it.
The totem system's kind of interesting with the whole like choose an animal type that is beneficial, because later on in the run you might want to switch to birds being able to do something if you don't have that great of a sigil to go on it, you know.
I mean, it's good that they give you the options, right? Because now when you're picking cards, you'll be like, oh, that's a beast.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an insect. Oh, that's a whatever.
So
and then like intentionally pick those so that later, in case you get like a really sweet totem for it, you can swap it out, right?
I intuited that the tape, whenever they tell you something is useless, you should do it. So like they told me the tapeworm was useless, and then I realized what it was for when I got to the next bonfire.
Did you realize what it was for?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Okay.
The tapeworm? He says it's useless, and then you like 1 or 2 moves later I got to a bonfire and I was like, "Oh yeah. Like they try to eat stuff here. I wonder what happens if they eat the tapeworm."
The ringworm.
Ringworm. Right. Yeah, whatever you call it.
Yeah. It has another use.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Well,
everything in this game is there's stuff, man. Have you gotten the oh no wait, is that one in the clock? Have you seen the Ouroboros?
No, that's not in the clock. I've seen it.
Okay. Have you used it?
I have tried to use it, and I've only ever gotten it to die and come back to my hand one time.
Ouroboros is a really good card.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It just stays buffed forever. That doesn't stay persistent, right? Between runs?
Have you seen the Ouroboros again?
No, I haven't.
I can't answer that then.
Okay, so then are the campfires persistent between runs?
Like the buffs you get from the campfires?
No, the people
or the people
that I tapewormed.
Yeah, I don't know. Great question.
I guess I'll find out.
You'll find out in your next run.
I guess I'll find out tonight when I play this after this podcast. Inscryption.
I will say I did not find the other use for the ringworm. I looked it up after I'd beaten the game.
Okay.
But it is there. And I was like, oh, totally fits. Did not know.
I'm sure there's going to be stuff I miss. I don't know. I feel like if we have told me how to do the next step, I have not completed everything in that cabin. So I will obviously be missing stuff as I leave the cabin, because I haven't done the
use
painting.
The items.
I understand. I'm going to use the item, but I haven't done the painting or the clock. So I guess I will end up missing stuff because I will.
You can do the painting too.
Mm-hmm. It's nothing stopping you from doing multiple at one time, you know.
No, I know, but like if I win this next round and I leave the cabin, I'm not going to be able to finish everything unless somehow magically I get I have not found the hints for those things other than I can try and do the painting if I'm correct about how it works. You know what I mean? In that way of Myst to me, which is why I mentioned Myst. Myst to me always was like, I understand how to do, like, to find the things I need to find, but I never found the things I didn't need to find. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so since you say that, there are definitely some things that don't matter in the things we've been talking about here, and there are some that do.
Yeah. Okay. I like the game. I like it a lot. I like card games in general, and this one has a lot more flavor to it than most. I would say even something like Slay the Spire, which I really like, is not as fun and flavorful and interested in you having a good time, right? Slay the Spire is it's going to be hard. You're going to have a hard time. And I mentioned Slay the Spire because it's also roguelike in this type of way. Run-based, I guess. It's not really roguelike.
Yeah.
Run-based.
Run-based, yeah. Now that you're this far, Andrew, I can talk about the developer has created a mod for this game called Casey's Mod. That name should ring some bells for you, Michael.
Yes.
That it's in beta right now, so it's not officially completed yet, but it is basically this part that you're playing, Andrew, that you've been going through. It turns it into a real Slay the Spire type game.
Oh, so he just takes the cards and moves it into a different format?
And has created like starter decks and increased the variable options that you can run into and made it essentially like not quite endless and sprinkled some more additional lore and stuff in there that essentially is a add-on to the end of the game. So don't try it until after you've completed the game, but there's more lore and stuff in that mod.
Interesting. So I can install that later.
Okay. Do not install it now.
Got it. X hours in. Hopefully I have enough hours to finish it before next week, and we can discover whether or not I missed stuff or not. Until then, if people have comments on the food rules or their thoughts on I almost said Slay the Spire. God. Inscryption, or the NASA Webb Telescope, or anchovies, I guess. Ugh.
You can send those to podcast@weweregamers.com. And we like anchovies here, despite what Andrew just said. So, send those in. Good job, anchovies.
I'm unconvinced.
You can find this podcast and all of our podcasts on YouTube if you search for We Were Gamers, all one word. Hit that little follow and notify button so that you get our podcasts delivered straight to wherever it is you want to consume them. And you can follow this on all the various podcasting platforms out there.
YouTube.
We would appreciate it if you do that.
Don't make me do all this YouTube work for nothing. Go look at YouTube and watch and comment there. Man, now I want to go play Inscryption, but I have work to do.
I was gonna say I'm excited for you.
I gotta get this podcast up. I gotta this. Star Trek is so close to done.
Use the chat when you find stuff, Andrew. We'll help you.
Okay. I don't really need help as much as I feel like I don't want to miss something because I like it.
Yeah.
I think I could probably win going forward without trying very hard, unless he changes the rules again. When that third candle shows up in the fight, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. that's a moment.
That wasn't good. And then the floating masks gave away what the first thing was going to be. And I was like, okay, well, I can kind of avoid these things pretty easily. And then I accidentally put out too many cards and I had to wait for him to kill the gold before the second round ended. But I was able to pull, I had pelts in the deck.
Nice.
And so I was able to pull most of his cards off
just
the board for the second round. I was like, well, I kill you and in one move now.
Yeah, I did that in one of my runs.
And then the moon showed up. I was like, ooh, I wonder if this wolf with the stink bug ability works.
I found that if I had the deck to get to the moon itself was actually not that difficult.
Yeah, I mean, if you have, it sounds like if you have Death Touch and maybe one or two other things and a good amount of flyers to deal with the angler, you're pretty much set getting through the deck. The trapper is not that hard. All right, man.
All right, everyone.